Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Trade Australia is brought to you by the Australian Trade Logistics Corporation and Ethical Trade Alliance and our national partners. On today's episode, we're going to talk about trade modernisation, some of the latest innovations. We've got some great speakers here on the show with us. So we're going to kick it right off. I've got Jey Srikantha, who's the CEO of JeyLabs, and he's joining me via Zoom here in Melbourne, but we're in lockdown, so I can't have you in studio. But great to see you again, Jey. How are you?
Yeah, likewise, mate. Yeah, good to see you. Doing all right, lockdown, but, this could be worse, right? So that's why I'm actually glad that we are able to actually have this conversation.
Yeah.
Although we are physically in different places, so that's great.
Likewise, mate. I've been wanting to get you on the show for quite some time, so thank you for taking the time. Look, let's talk about GetSignature. Please tell me and the viewers what GetSignature is all about and why it's so important.
Look, GetSignature is a electronic signature platform. So, any kind of documents, agreements, any kind of paper document that we see in a supply chain or a typical corporation, we can actually get that digitized and get that electronically signed. We have digital signatures to make sure that these documents are tamper-proof, and you have proof of signature and things like that. That makes these documents legally binding. They are court admissible, and so on and so forth. But leaving that whole document signature side of things, the reason that I actually started this is out of a personal need that I saw a couple of years ago when I was doing a lot of my documents and signing them and sending them across the internet through email. I noted that there's not a lot of security on those documents once I've signed them, right? So I signed these documents. They got personally identified information, sensitive data. Some of the data is that I don't even share with my teammates, and these things are on that document, and I am sending that away on an email with no protection in terms of encryption or passwords or anything like that. So I looked around and couldn't really find anyone that actually provided that as part of their the e-signature solution. So I thought, well, we might as well build it ourselves. So that's how GetSignature was born in the late 2019, and then when COVID hit in 2020, March, April, we kind of started to see a lot of people were unable to be next to each other, explaining about the documentation or get them signed, as they call it, use blue ink and sign it. They couldn't get that, right? So this became a useful tool for a lot of those people for social distancing, biohazard, and being able to work remotely quite well. This became a good tool, and we started to sort of gave it to our partners and some of our resellers, and we were able to sell it to a construction company in Singapore. They were actually evaluating some of the bigger players in the market and us, and they gave us the opportunity because of some of the good things that we had, like flexibility and some of the CSR related activities that we are doing with the product, and some innovation we actually showed them. The protection technology is actually patent pending at the moment, so it's actually very good and unique. And also, we are late to the party, so to speak. So we are latest with the technology, so which means that we are able to leverage people like the Amazon Web Services and the latest and the greatest. So we're standing on the shoulders of legends, right? And bring these technologies at a much more cost-effective price point that is more amenable to a lot of business, especially during these sort of tough times. So that is something that we are very proud of and happy about. So yeah, so that's really what GetSignature is really. As the name implies, you can get the signature simply, securely, and in a sustainable way.
I love it, Jey. I think, as you and I discussed offline a little while ago, one of the really important things that I want to talk to you about and why you're on this episode is because in shipping, in international trade, everything's triplicates, duplicates right through supply chain, and every milestone gets recorded and someone has to take authorization for that. So signatures across trade and supply chain are just everywhere. Sustainability, you touched on there, and how GetSignature and JeyLabs in general is really strong in CSR. So, and if you combine that with the COVID situation where companies and individuals are all forced to work remotely, there's no secure setup, we're dealing with, even within departments, before it even leaves the organisation, there's a whole range of security that has to be considered. So I think what you've done with GetSignature is really, really important for global business and domestic business, but definitely anyone involved with any sort of supply chain, you really need to have that sort of extra layer of security. The other thing that's really, you touched on there, that I know has really scared the pants off a lot of people in supply chain around the recent hacking that's taken place in some systems and platforms over the last couple of years, especially with some big transport companies here in Australia and even some carriers as well overseas. So they've actually targeted some supply chain businesses. So the extra encryption and the extra security that GetSignature provides is something that's really important, I believe. So, with that sort of segue, if you like, tell us about how you're helping modernise trade in a more specific way with GetSignature.
Yeah, look, I think as you said, in international trade, there is documentation is quite important. So that's why there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of signatures to get authorization, chain of custody, proof of delivery, that sort of stuff, right? So where we see inefficiencies is in the handling of a lot of that paper. So if we could turn that into a digitized version of it and having their legal signature or the signature as they do it can be placed on those documents without them having to go and do, printing, scanning, signing, that sort of workflow. And we make it easy on the tablets and the other devices that they already have or can acquire. This is going to improve the efficiency because it's obviously get the job done in terms of proof. It gets a better accuracy in terms of GPS locations, time stamping, device cameras, photos, all that sort of technology kind of connected into that. And then now, because you can connect to the backend system, you can check and validate the data, you can post the data once it's signed seamlessly into the backend system, so you can update the order tracking or transport status and all that. We are in fact working with an aviation air cargo company in the sort of logistics space. They're actually looking at using GetSignature to get that tracking of the dispatch orders and the like. And if it's once they run the pilot, they'll go and expand it across the company and various areas. So I think the value there is the reduction of paper and the seamless integration of all that data captured and straight away that get pushed into, because right now it's a piece of paper, it could thrown away, it could be lost or misinterpreted, and then people have to chase these documents. So I think that alone is going to provide a lot of productivity, efficiency, saving of paper, and it's also more sustainable in that sense. Yeah.
I think the other really thing that stands out to me, Jey, as well, is that you're an independent provider in the sense of, if you think about just Australian transport companies and supply chain companies, you might be doing a contract with one major company and they'll use subcontractors down into regional areas or into different interstate options. So you might be having 3 or 4 different layers of infrastructure and technology. What you can offer with GetSignature is you've got that single point that gives you a whole range of consistency, but also means that you can get speed back into the supply chain communications and data sets. So if I've got a regional transport provider in the back of Burke somewhere who's got a GetSignature sign-off on their tablet or smartphone, for example, that can then go straight back onto the master manifest. You can get almost real-time track and trace capabilities. So some of the fact that you're able to work across different platforms and really bring all that infrastructure together is very powerful as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because the beauty of this is that once it's a cloud solution, which means it's available everywhere. And once it's set up there, then there's no limit as to who can participate in that. So the entire chain can become part of that, and the whole data can be passed across the relevant companies in that whole thing. So we are in fact reducing duplication of infrastructure and people having multiple copies. In that sense, we can actually provide them and connect to their backend system and update the data and provide real-time status. So there is a huge opportunity to optimize the sort of end-to-end infrastructure here, and the whole business process as a whole.
Yeah, wonderful. And you mentioned that you had this idea in 2019. You're kicking off with some pilots. You're doing some great stuff around supply chain already. What's the progress so far? Where's it going to in the next 12 months, 5 years, so forth? What's your vision for GetSignature?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've got a slightly higher purpose and very much aligned to what you guys have in the Ethical Trade Alliance, as well as the organization that we were talking about, Lawrence. That we actually want to plant a certain number of trees in the next 5 years. We've already made enough progress. It's a very small progress because we actually plant a tree with every new subscription, and then depending on the plans, there's a quarterly or annually or a number of signing requests that they send. We plant a tree. So what this does is that as the customers are using and improving their systems and processes and saving paper and thereby saving trees, but we are also planting new trees by partnering with a company called OneTreePlanted.org. And we've already planted 240 trees, 200 in Australia, 40 around the world, based on where the customers are. So we got consumers, professionals, small to medium businesses, and some large enterprises. So as I mentioned earlier, they got a 2,000 user customer enterprise business in the construction space in Singapore actually using it at the moment. We got an online business that's already using it in the sort of real estate industry, and we are talking to a number of education, with government departments, and so on and so forth. So there's exciting opportunities there. We got some distributed in the US and also in Australia and New Zealand. There's been a lot of enthusiasm for a local Aussie product, Aussie innovation, especially with the patent pending technology and the sustainability story that we have. People are a lot more excited about what we are bringing to the market. So, we're very excited to sort of make that impact, and also our price point is such that anyone can get on easily, and that means that we can impact a lot more users. So, big goals in terms of growth and territory and sustainability. But we would love to be partnered with more companies in the sort of international trade and see if we can help more organizations in their supply chains.
No, thanks, Jey. I love your tagline as well. You've got at the bottom of your signature, which is, your efficiency is our obsession. I love that. I think it's really direct and very relevant. As you said, it's not just about improving the way people do business, but it's also making a positive impact through reducing paper usage, improving the efficiency of a business, but also by planting trees, as you're doing for every new sign-up, you're really making a tangible positive impact on the planet itself as well. So congratulations on those great initiatives. What's the best way there's plenty of people in supply chain watching this episode. What's the best way they can get in touch and have a chat with you about how they can get Signature into their business?
Yeah, look, our website is getsignature.today, as in Get Signature Today. Yep. That's the website. So https://getsignature.today. If you go there, you can read about how what we're doing, the plans available. You can have a free trial, as well as you can contact us. All our details are there. Love to hear from people that want to work in this area. So and thank you so much for your opportunity to talk to you today, Lawrence. Thanks.
Thanks, Jey. I really appreciate it. And, you and I talked before the episode, we want to actually put GetSignature into this business as well. So whatever we can do to save the documentation and paper trail here within the studios and so forth, let's do that as well. So looking forward to having a chat with you further about implementing that with us as well.
Awesome, mate. Thank you. Cheers, Lawrence.
Thanks, Jey. Take care, and we'll speak again very soon.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
So I've just heard from Jey Srikantha from JeyLabs, who have got GetSignature.today, a really important and smart way to transform your business into a digital area. So stick around. After the break, we'll come back with Bertrand Chen from GSBN. That's a really interesting interview as well, really one to stick around for. In the meantime, here's one of our weekly industry updates as well. So we'll see you very soon.
Experienced international customer service candidates are needed now. We, in Sync Personnel, have multiple job opportunities available across both Sydney and Melbourne. The ideal candidates for our clients will have experience across import, export, air and sea, and are looking for the next step in their career, wanting to move into a customer service role where you will be the first point of contact for all of your customers' international freight needs. Your daily tasks will include, but won't be limited to, liaising with co-loaders, airlines and shipping lines, coordinating end-to-end operations, being the main point of contact for all of your customers' international freight needs, and coordinating all other relevant documentation. So if this role has intrigued you and or are interested to see what other job opportunities InSync Personnel has available, please head to our website. Stay safe.
Hi guys, it's Mark Hackett here from Cargo Office. I'd just like to talk to you about some of the things that we're seeing happening in technology space, what sort of systems people are after, and the biggest thing we're seeing at the moment is really integration is a really hot thing. Everybody wants their systems to talk to each other, and why not? Makes it simpler for everybody, reduces data entry, and keeps everyone up to date with what's happening in real time. It's really can be quite a simple thing as far as just sending data between systems. You know, it might be just sort of asynchronous data going one way and then coming back, or it can be real time. The technologies used can be quite well established, things like file transfer protocol and simple file types and things like that, through to the more recent sort of full API integration where everything happens in real time. So Cargo Office obviously can help with these types of things for everyone involved in the logistics and supply chain industries. The unique things that Cargo Office can do is allow us to do this relatively quickly. We already have a lot of connections with a lot of different systems in the industry, which obviously helps a lot. If you are interested, please just sing out.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for watching Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Continuing with our theme on this episode around trade modernisation, I've got the absolute pleasure now of being joined by Bertrand Chen, who's the CEO of the Global Shipping Business Network, or GSBN. Hi, Bertrand, how are you?
Hi, very nice to see you again, Lawrence.
Likewise, great to catch up again. Bertrand, thanks so much for joining us. As I mentioned at the outset, this whole episode around trade modernisation, it's really catching up with companies around the world about how they can really stay up to date and take advantage of all the new technology around the place. And with what I know about GSBN, I really wanted to get you on the show and talk about it. So please, can you tell me and the audience, what is GSBN? How does it modernise global trade?
Sure. Thank you again for the opportunity to explain to your audience. So GSBN, in short, is the world's first independent, not-for-profit technology consortium to build blockchain-enabled operating system to modernize global trade. So what does that mean exactly? Right now, the shipping industry is seeing many disruption prompted by COVID-19. And one potential cure is actually to create a more digitized supply chain where information can flow freely between stakeholders who need to have that information in order to adjust the decision depending what's happening. So really think that as a use case to use blockchain to solve this problem is very important. GSBN founding member or the stakeholder are 8 leading global shipping line and terminal operator. So among these members, I would say that 1 in every 3 containers is being handled by this group. So we have a fairly, I would say, a good market penetration. Also, as a group, we try to make the best decision for the ecosystem, not to help the shipping line or the terminal operator, but really try to work for the entire ecosystem. And therefore, we set up as a not-for-profit.
Wonderful. I think it's amazing, as you say, the timing has never been more important. Bertrand, what are the trends that does GSBN see in global trade moving forward?
Well, I think, unfortunately, as everybody is experiencing right now with COVID-19, we see many disruption in the supply chain, right? And that's prompted by increasing demand in goods to be shipped, and unfortunately, a shortage of equipment and supply to accommodate that. Not only that, you also have lockdown that's prompted by COVID-19 at terminal, who are creating havoc. So because of those reasons, actually, I do think that we'll see continuous disruption. Hopefully, this is also a wake-up call for the industry that digitalization really cannot wait. I think that maybe a slightly provocative way to say the last innovation for the shipping industry was the container shipping in 1956 when inventing the container. And since then, I think most of the thing has been just to build larger boats and larger terminal. And unfortunately, right now, you see that the way the growth of the global trade, $19 trillion, it just cannot accommodate the type of shock that we're seeing right now. So I think the trend is really more digitization, using blockchain or other technology to provide more means for shipper, shipping line, terminal, freight forwarder, truckers to collaborate to exchange more information.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the information now is, as they say, the new gold. It's really something that's so critical across every global supply chain. Bertrand, GSBN recently rolled out the cargo release in China and Southeast Asia. So how do users benefit from this solution?
Well, cargo release is an interesting product. So what we observe is in some terminal, the release operation itself actually is quite complicated. It involves a lot of paper. So it's actually really inefficient. I think some study from a consulting firm established that paper actually is causing up to $30 billion per year of wasted inefficiency in the industry. So if we can digitize the process, that's actually a very strong added benefit for a lot of people. But not only from the point of view of cost saving, it's also a saving in times. So what we're seeing right now is when cargo release in China, in some of the terminal where we have been rolling out for quite a few months now, they are seeing benefit going from days to be shortened to hours. So that's definitely a benefit from users who are anxiously waiting for the container to be released. Also, to some degree, they are right now bottleneck at the terminal where you cannot find space for container. So if you can decrease the dwell time of the container at the terminal, that also has indirect benefit for the consumer. So all in all, if you remove the need of using paper, you digitize the entire process of release, that could potentially alleviate some of the aspects. Obviously, that's not a recipe to solve all the problem, but I think it's a very good starting point. In terms of Southeast Asia, we've seen actually, after the success we've seen in China, the next logical area for us to consider, given the founding member of GSBN, the Hutchison ports, and also PSA, is to consider the location next door, which is really Singapore, Lam Chabang, Thailand, and to try to expand beyond that. So Southeast Asia right now, I'm sure you know, is actually quite dominant. These two countries, Malaysia, I think Singapore is quite dominant in terms of e-commerce and overseas e-commerce. So they also benefit greatly to use this kind of process. And more long-term, I would say mid-term, we see actually this kind of use case can be extended also to Europe and US. Okay. So slowly we go from China to Southeast Asia broader, then maybe Europe, Africa, and US. So that's how we plan to roll this out.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Bertrand. Yeah, you've basically answered that last question I wanted to ask you about the expansion plans for GSBN, because I can see the appetite for this type of technology is only going to get larger, and all those traders, importers and exporters around the world, and the carriers and supply chain operators themselves would really love to work with you on trying to improve the efficiency and also trying to get a whole range of visibility so they can make smarter decisions. And I think that these recent supply chain disruptions that everyone's experienced in the last 18 months or so, it's really brought to the fore how important great visibility is, great transparency is across supply chain. So the faster that they can access information, they can quickly be, as they say, pivot or agile and make the right decisions to try and plug any gaps that take place.
Absolutely. I think maybe one last thing to add in terms of expansion plan, right? So that's, I think, I would say a geographical expansion, which is quite natural. I would say in terms of product also, we have some ideas, some strategy in terms of growth, which is right now most of the product that we're looking at still remains in the realm of supply chain. Yeah. We also believe that from a shipper, BCO, and end user who are involved in the shipping industry, another big pain point is also financing, so trade finance. So with that aspect also, we have planned to grow partnership with international trade finance banks and also start to contribute in the space that I think I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of innovation right now, is electronic bill of lading. Yeah. So that, again, as a product, we are right now looking at what's the right role for GSBN to play. And what we have in mind right now is you effectively have two silos. You have the banks and then the shipping industry, and they don't talk to each other. The only document that's, I would say, the bridge is the bill of lading. Yeah. So we believe that if we can somehow digitize these documents, we can potentially bridge the gap between the two ecosystems and create value for the corporate, not only on the supply chain side, but also on the finance side, which I'm sure will be very well accepted, well received by the community.
Yeah, that would be an amazing development. I think the expansion into those electronic bills of lading would really be such a game changer when it comes to the way that companies can really transact and release those funds as quickly as possible as well. So we really look forward to hearing more about that, staying in contact with you as well, Bertrand, and really making sure that our viewers and our audience can see all the great work that you're doing with GSBN. I love the fact that it's an NFP as well, and how you're really working with all these major stakeholders to, as you said before, really make one of the biggest shifts in international trade since containerization. So congratulations on all the work you and your colleagues are doing. We really look forward to staying in touch with you and hearing more about the progress as you evolve that even further into the future.
Thanks very much.
So you've just heard from Bertrand Chen, who's the CEO of Global Shipping Business Network, or GSBN. There's amazing work that they're doing with so many big carriers and ports and terminals. And as you've just heard, they're even expanding to electronic bills of lading as well with some finance organisations. So watch this space. Definitely stay in touch with us here at Trade Australia and the Import Export TV channel, and you'll hear all about these type of innovations and really, transitions into future ways of doing trade. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. We look forward to seeing you again next week on another episode of Trade Australia. Take care. Bye.